My name is Joan Taylor, and I'm a writer. I have written 4 books: Food for the Soul, Living on Purpose, The Veil of Silence, and Hope Abounds. I am a speaker and a teacher, as well as a life coach. I've been in ministry since 2004, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence. Thank you for joining me for day 33, From the Wilderness into the Promised Land. Today's message is titled Timing. God's timing is His greatest teacher, and it is our greatest test. I believe that we are all believing God for something, and we're all waiting on God for something. I find it interesting that, especially when we have been in a journey for a very long period of time, the very well-intentioned, loving, and kind people in our lives will tell us about it's God's timing, or it's going to come to pass in God's timing. I believe that's true. And I don't know about you, but clearly my plan and my pathway to deliverance looked vastly different than what God is doing right now. Clearly, this is God's plan, God's pathway, and God's timing, because it is not my own. I would have delivered myself, if I could have, months ago, or at least when I thought that it was going to take place, and my thoughts were it was going to take place differently. So the reality is that this is God's timing. This is His plan. This is His pathway. I'm thinking about a couple of scriptures that I took a look at. Isaiah 55, 8 and 9. At the right time, God will deliver you. Isaiah 60, 22 tells us, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. I really believe that God is almost always late, but right on time. But when we have been in a journey for a long period of time, as Abraham and Sarah were, they waited 25 years. God gave them a promise, and by the time God manifested that promise, Abraham was 100 and Sarah was 90. 25 years passed before God fulfilled the promise for them. Clearly, the wait, W-A-I-T, was a W-E-I-G-H-T in their hearts. Why? Because they decided to take matters into their own hand. God was taking far too long to do what He said He was going to do. Abraham impregnated Hagar, and they had Ishmael. But the interesting thing is that God's promise did not fail. What He told Abraham He was going to do, despite the fact that Abraham moved in his own will and his own way and not in God's, God still fulfilled His promise. So as I take a look at day 33, which I believe, if my spirit is giving me the right indication, I'm in the last leg or the last mile of this segment of the journey. And I must say that I am in great need of rest. But as I think about God's timing, and I know the perfection of it, because it's going to come to the fullness of time. Yes, it's going to come at the right moment. Yes, it's not going to be late. Yes, it's going to be magnificent. That still does not mean that we do not feel weighted down in the wait. So I hope that for everyone that is believing God for something, for everyone that is waiting on God for something, we will hold tight to the promise, and we will hold steadfast and stand in what He has promised that He will do, He will fulfill. If this message has encouraged you, share it with a friend. If it has encouraged you and blessed you and empowered you, consider sowing a seed on joantaylor.org. Subscribe to our channel, and until next time, it is my heartfelt prayer that we would continue to stand and hold steadfast in the wait, because God is faithful to fulfill every promise that He has given to us.